Whether we like it or not, and regardless of whether it's a good deal, ASA, Ark Survival Ascended, is set to launch in August. We all know Ark, and this will probably be pushed back, no doubt. But I thought it would be a good time to bring up what we want from ASA. So we came up with a list. In conjunction with my community, we brainstormed the top 10 things that should and could be fixed in Ark Survival Ascended. For years, Ark has been plagued with many underlying problems that stem from a poor foundation. But with Ark Survival Ascended releasing, we can only hope the foundation is strong, and I think these changes would help reinforce it. Now is the perfect time for the community to come together and discuss things that have plagued Ark for way too long, and bring them to the devs, and at least get our money's worth. The following top 10 fixes we could see in Ark Survival Ascended are in no particular order, but first off we're going to start with cheating, which has plagued Ark for years and been the bane of its existence. From ESP to aimbot, Ark has allowed cheaters to run rampant with little to no recourse for most of its lifespan. Obviously it'll be never snuffed out, but with the money we are putting into the Unreal Engine 5 Ark Survival Ascended upgrade, hopefully Wildcard can put some more money into anti-cheat and having adequate protection. What we'd ideally like to see in Ark Survival Ascended is in-game reporting similar to Rust. Rust has a great system and it's been proven to work, and cheaters get banned very fast. Instead of sending people off to an external website to post their cheating reports, Ark could implement an in-game reporting feature which would allow ease of access and fast response time from the devs, hopefully. How this works in practice is that if you die to a player you suspect is cheating, you can report them from the death screen with that player automatically tagged, but I'm sure with Unreal Engine 5 it should be hopefully easier to catch cheaters and harder to cheat in the newer engine. The main thing I'd like to see is Ark actually spend some money on anti-cheat. The other thing we could see happen is a Discord like we currently see for Conquest and Classic servers, and where it's run by the community. Players are reported in this Discord and banned with a much faster response time than standard official servers. For years, Ark has fallen behind and let the cheaters run rampant on its servers, and this has led to a massive drop in Ark's reputation and leads a lot of players to not engage with PvP due to this fact. So if they do a little bit more work to this, we could see a lot of players come to the game knowing that anti-cheat is in and they're not going to run into a cheater every time they join a server. The next thing that would be great to see fixed in Ark Survival Ascended is separate changes for PvP and PvE modes to balance both economies and keep both player bases happy. Ark is in major need of a huge overhaul and rebalance to many of its creatures and metas, so it'd be great if we could see different settings for PvP and PvE to keep both player bases happy, because for years both player bases have fought against each other. Either time Ark has pleased one player base, the other player base has been unhappy. If they could just make separate settings, then we could see this pleasing everybody. Another change that would please everybody would be Ark fixing hit registration. This is when you shoot an arrow and it looks like it's hitting the target, but the hit doesn't register, which is still to this day super common in Ark. So hopefully in the Unreal Engine 5 upgrade of Ark Survival Ascended, this will be an easy fix. It would be amazing to use crossbows and compound bows again, not having to worry about if your shot's actually going to register or not. The next change we'd like to see is no custom ini settings. This might be a controversial topic for some, but for years Ark has allowed players to customize the game and get rid of tree foliage, water, fog, and many in-game effects to get an unfair advantage against other players. So in Ark Survival Ascended, hopefully the devs have learnt that no other game allows players to do this in a competitive playing field, and this is very backwards. We can hope that Wildcard has learnt and listens to the player base and does not allow players to modify their ini to cheat any longer. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. I know it's a huge debate between the Ark community, but that's the way I see it, and I really hate it and would love to know that when I'm hiding in a bush, I'm actually hiding in a bush and the other player hasn't just deleted that bush with their ini settings. The next thing we would love to see fixed is meshing, and hopefully this is inherently fixed with Unreal Engine 5's upgrades. I'm sure Wildcard will initiate the infrastructure needed to stop meshing in its tracks before it even starts, and build the foundations strong on Ark Survival Ascended. Let's just hope we don't run into any mesh monkeys again. Fingers crossed we don't even have to worry about meshing, and this can be the last we hear about it, because I think Unreal Engine 5 has a lot of upgrades to the mesh and navigation and things like this, which will inherently make it harder. Hopefully Wildcard make enough kill borders and do whatever they need to compensate for any flaws that Unreal Engine 5 may still have. Next up we have player stats balancing and modifiers, and what this means is limiting the ability to make your player movement speed 200 and run across the map like the Flash, I think would be a great balanced pass that Wildcard could implement with the new upgrade. Take things back to a more primitive stage. For the longest time it's been so odd to have the crazy movement speed that we have in Ark, and it just sort of doesn't suit the game. If Ark were to limit the movement speed, wild dinosaurs would actually be a threat again and you wouldn't be able to just run away from them. So it'd make the game in itself way more immersive and way more engaging in my opinion. Also limiting health, limiting all modifiers like this, maybe even limiting level cap of players as eventually the power creep gets too high. And this could also include limiting the levels of flak players can get. This would help bridge the gap in power creep between players, as Ark has always had an issue with PvP balance inflation. We originally didn't have crafted boost on flak and things, and once that was added, player flak got way stronger and players became basically invulnerable to a point. So I hope that devs really take a look at player stats, balancing, and gear balancing so that it's a more balanced and fair playing field that feels more in line with a PvP competitive game, for PvP players at least. But like I say, for even PvE players, this would be great as it means the wild dinos and creatures would actually be a threat once more. Next up, we have no K-mode orbital camera. This would be a great change for Ark, as for the longest time Ark has had this weird orbital camera that you can implement that actually even goes through the mesh. This has also helped meshes to have an easier time at looking at where they're targeting and things. It really takes you out of the immersion in-game. It's just a very odd mechanic, and hopefully with Unreal Engine 5 and the new remaster, they can look at this camera and at least have it terrain blocked so that you don't get weird perspectives looking under the map and things. And again, this would lead to greater immersion in the game and just make the game look a lot more polished as a whole. Next up, we have a reworking of the ENGRAM system, which I think would be great for a lot of new players that might come to the game with the Ark Survival Ascended launch. For the longest time, Ark has had an issue with the ENGRAM system, where experienced players have unlocked these technological marvels like tech tier and tech turrets, tech generator, teleporter, and other powerful items that players who are just coming to the game don't have access to. So there's a huge power creep, and often new players will just get prim locked, and huge power difference between players who are just trying to start out and players who have already set up on the server, which is pretty standard. But the gap in Ark is way bigger than any other game like this. For instance, Rust does not have as substantial power creep. It would be great to see Ark make engrams like tech a little more accessible for newer players that come to the game trying to set up but get destroyed because they can never make it to tech tier. Hopefully another change we'll see is a change to the transfer timer, which at the moment is 15 minutes, which means you have to wait on a server 15 minutes with your gear before you can transfer off. With Ark Survival Ascended, hopefully this is a thing of the past, and we can simply transfer between servers as fast and as much as we like. Obviously, this was implemented to stop duping. I'm not sure if Unreal Engine 5 has other fixes that might inherently stop duping, but obviously if this is still an issue, maybe we can hope that they can limit the timer and make it shorter at least. Last but not least, we have balanced dino stats. At the moment, Stegos can get to 200,000 HP, and I've heard of Carbonemis getting to 400k HP. So there's a huge problem with dino stat inflation over time, where the dinos get way too powerful and make it way too easy to raid bases. Hopefully, Wildcard can actually cap this and balance it to a point where we don't get one creature that's way more powerful than the rest. I'm looking at you, Stego. So these are the top 10 fixes we would like to see for Ark Survival Ascended. Obviously, this list is not exhaustive, and you may disagree with some of these. That's fine. We all have different opinions, and these are just some ideas on things that myself and my community have seen since playing the game from the beginning way back in 2015. With Ark Survival Ascended's cost, we may as well try and get our money's worth and hit the devs with some ideas for practical changes that us as the community would like to see. If you have other ideas you would like to see, put them below and we might do another video like this. And I do other videos covering dirty devs and gameplay, so if you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe, and you can catch me live on Twitch most days. You guys are legends. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.